This is episode 8 of Fear Itself. It's called Skin and Bones. An episode that is worth watching just for Doug Jones's performance. If this antagonist role was played by anyone else, I would say this would be a subpar episode. But Doug Jones just really hits it into the stratosphere, doing what he does so well, playing a scary, gangly, small-headed monster. Now, that might seem like a bit of a niche, but no, he's made a living off playing a gangly monster. He was in the Guillermo del Toro 2007 movie Pan's Labyrinth as Fauno, and he's probably best known for the Hellboy series where he played the character Abe Sapien. In fact, you've probably seen him in lots of things. Even I was surprised how many movies he's been in because he always looks different. They put him under makeup, prosthetics. He was in Men in Black 2 where they make his head look crazy small. He already has a small head. They make it look even more warped. And this is by far the best performance we will ever see in any episode of Fear Itself. This doesn't mean this is my favorite episode, since a lot of the other things are lacking, but wow, he puts on a terrifying performance as a gangly, sickly man who also seems to have powers.
Oh, hungry. I can't help it, Rowdy.
That works out just fine for you then, doesn't it?
What's that supposed to mean?
Where are the little buggers anyway? Well, as soon as we've had a bite to eat, we'll go find them.
And this is by far the bloodiest and most messed up episode. You can watch all the Fear Itself episodes on YouTube, and the ones on YouTube actually have the director's cut. So does the DVD, so it adds in another minute or so of blood towards the end. So strap yourself in for Skin and Bones, because it starts off a little slow, but it really does kick into high gear. So it starts off with a family living on a small farm with a very noticeably fake background. That does not look like mountains or clouds at all. I don't know how they screwed this up. The rest of the set looks good. The father of the family, Grady, England, you see there's a little trouble on the farm. There's a bit of a love triangle between Grady, the father of the children living on the farm, and Rowdy, the brother of Grady, who is also dating the wife. Yeah, so this comes up many times during the episode.
So do you. Maybe you should keep it off my mother.
You should be inside helping your mother instead of trying to pick a fight with me.
Once we see Grady, who's been lost in the woods for 10 days, where he went out scouting with a group of people, he mentions around 4, they're missing. So they're still missing, but Grady, the father of the family, comes back to the farm, and he's looking very gangly and sickly, and he has frostbite all over his fingers, and it looks like he's on the brink of death. And the kids still care about their father, who has been missing in the woods, and don't really like this new stepfather, Rowdy, who's dating their mother. This subplot I don't think exactly really goes anywhere, but they're trying to make some type of connection to the stepfather kind of being a monster, when really it's the father who's the monster, in the case of this episode. And once Grady comes back from the woods, they put him upstairs in this bed, and he seems very sickly. He's very thin, he has frostbite all over him, especially on his fingers, which are literally black. And this is where Doug Jones does such a great job playing a sick character, because honestly, he kind of always looks sick. This guy is 6'4" and weighs around 155 pounds. 6'4", 155 pounds. So he's very tall and always very skinny with a tiny head. This is why he plays these monsters so well, because he's just a gangly tree branch just waving in the wind. So the question becomes, how did Grady survive out in the woods for 10 days? He went with a group of people. They went searching, and this group of people is gone, and only Grady returns. So what happened? What did he survive on for 10 days? You got to eat something, right? Do you survive on maybe like some leaves? No, I don't think that was it. Maybe some berries. There's berries out in the woods. You could have survived that. Maybe he killed like some small squirrels, but that'd be kind of hard because then you have to cook them. So what else could he have survived on? Bark? I don't think he could eat bark. Let's see. Maybe one of the other people he was traveling with had some emergency Go-Gurt or a Nutri-Grain bar. Even better, maybe some of those expired power bars that definitely need to make a comeback. Maybe some trout, maybe more like spearfishing, but then you have to cook it again. Well, I can't figure this one out. I have no idea what he survived on.
Turned all around. Had to hole up in a shallow cave to stay warm. It was just me and Jasper in the cave. I'll save you. Just let me in. And you know, Jasper was
so weak by then. I had to eat. I had to.
I guess I'll tell the kids that you're feeling better. They'll be so happy.
The kids.
But for some reason, Grady seems to not want the food that they're giving him. He seems to want actual meat, like real meat, like human meat, not this fake meat bullshit. He wants the real stuff. So while he's acting sickly in this bed, he also will knock away any type of food they give him and play a game that he's going to play the rest of this episode where he acts sickly and then all of a sudden gets a ton of energy and moves at warp speed. Then acts sickly again and goes, "Oh, I'm just a little frail man." And then shows up behind someone and twists their head off.
Torn apart.
Well, that's not what's tearing apart the Edlin family now, is it, Eddie Bear?
You better put that big bad knife away now, Eddie. No one's gonna take kindly to a bitter old Indian slitting the throat of a well-appointed ranch owner from the city. Now are they?
So this episode of Fear Itself was actually the last one to air officially, getting a respectable 3.87 million viewers on NBC before the whole show was put on hiatus for the 2008 Summer Olympics because we had to get more coverage of Michael Phelps and the 8 gold medals he was going to win. So it's Michael Phelps' fault that this show was canceled. The next 5 episodes after this are all going to be unaired episodes. It does seem like at this point, the family is against some pretty insurmountable odds. Their father Grady has been taken over by this spirit that called to him in the woods, and he's now a cannibal that has superpowers and he moves at warp speed, where just in an instant he could show up right behind you. So how are they going to take him down? They only have a few rifles. They also play a little bit of a game, which we see in horror movies sometimes, where the kids still think they could talk to their father because their father must still be in this body. He can't be taken over by this evil spirit. He's the zombie that they could talk some sense into him. Please, Father, I know you're in there. You don't want to eat and kill this entire family. This doesn't work at all, and actually they don't even really play with this trope that much outside of the kids being doofuses and trying it a few times. Their father is completely gone. This spirit is completely taken him over, and there's not even a split second where he tries not to kill his entire family. So he chases around this family. So his family run away from the house and are hiding in, I think, what looks like an Airstream trailer. Yeah, I think they're doing a call out to Airstream. The old school ones. And Rowdy goes into the house trying to fight off Grady. He's armed with a rifle and a bad leg. He could barely walk, so how's he going to beat this monster that can move at 1,000 miles per hour? We do get some interesting dialogue between them, because despite the fact that Grady can kill any of them at any moment, he actually wants to get some answers out of Rowdy. Specifically about this odd relationship that they have where Rowdy is living on the farm and is also banging Grady's wife, who I guess they divorced. They don't exactly explain this, but I just assume this is not some throuple. Like Grady divorced his wife, but they're still living together in the same house, seemingly sleeping in the same bed, and then Rowdy's banging the wife living in the Airstream trailer. So this is an odd dynamic. They probably could explain a little more, like, what is Grady doing? Like, why is he just allowing his wife to sleep with this guy? Or did they divorce and he's dating someone else? Like, what is going on here? Why are they still living together? But he mentions that he owns his farm and has a lot of the money wrapped up in the farm. So, sometimes if you want to make money on a farm, you gotta let your wife, get her needs filled by a guy with a limp leg. And he also makes quick work of Rowdy, too. And then we get to the most disturbing part of the episode. Now Grady is completely masked off. He's not even pretending to be sickly anymore or playing games or pretending to be nice in any way, shape, or form. He's in complete, insane cannibal mode from here on out. And this is the closest we come to him kind of chewing the scenery. It's kind of darkly funny in a lot of ways because he's trying to get her. He's trying to get his wife, his former wife, to cook this meat. And understandably, she is unwilling to do this.
Here's an onion and a carrot. Well, we need to have a family meeting. Cut it up. What? Cut it up and cook it.
This cooking scene goes on for a little while and is definitely very gruesome and graphic. And then we just kind of get a predictable ending. His former wife just ends up shooting him. Apparently this works. Somehow his super speed has just gone away, despite the fact that he mentions as he eats things or people, he gains more energy and gets stronger. It actually seems to be the opposite. He seems to be very, very strong and fast, moving at warp speed in the beginning of the episode, and then at the end of the episode, he's just kind of walking around normally. I was hoping for maybe, a barn scene where he goes into the barn and they set it on fire. That seems to be what always happens in these movies that take place on a farm. Somebody always ends up setting the barn on fire. That's not what happens here. She just shoots him. So I think I'm going to give Skin and Bones a 7 out of 10. I like the performance a lot. It's an extremely hard role to pull off, especially towards the end where he has to be kind of darkly humorous. And he has to go through all phases of pretending to be innocent, talking sort of normally, faking it, and pretty much every other emotion a crazed killer has to go through. Next up is episode 9, Something with a Bite, about a werewolf. A werewolf story, probably my favorite subgenre of horror. There needs to be more werewolf stories, and this one's pretty good. This one takes place in a veterinary clinic. Check out our playlist for all episodes of Monster in Order, the first and second season of Tales from the Dark Side, and Fear itself. Bye.